This is an advertisement by BetterHelp. January arrives with a sense of expectation and change. But real change is rarely loud or dramatic.
It's noticing what no longer needs to be there. Thoughts you keep turning over even when they're not helping.
And when you live with those long enough, they can start to feel normal until you pause and see them more clearly. That's where perspective helps. Not fixing yourself, just creating space to understand what's been weighing you down.
Therapy can offer that space, a clearer view of your own patterns and what's worth holding on to. BetterHelp makes starting straightforward. You answer a few questions and they match you with a qualified therapist. If it doesn't feel right, you can switch at any time.
Whether you're into New Year's resolutions or not, working to better yourself is something everyone should do. And you don't even need to bulldoze your life to do it. Simply use BetterHelp.
BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/restishistory. That's betterhelp.com/restishistory.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Car shopping shouldn't feel like preparing for a marathon of paperwork. That's why Carvana makes buying and financing your car easy. From start to finish, search thousands of vehicles with great prices. All online, all on your time. And when you're ready, your new car shows up right at your door. It doesn't get better than that. Buy your car the easy way. On Carvana. Delivery fees may apply.
Welcome to The Rest is History. We are doing the 12 days of Christmas, or indeed the 13 days of Christmas, and we have finally reached the 5th of January.
It's the penultimate day, isn't it?
Yes, the penultimate day, and an absolute red letter day in the Rest is History's calendar, in the Rest is History's seasonal year, because Tom Holland, happy birthday. It is the big day, isn't it?
Thank you very much, Dominic.
Oh, what a lovely moment this is.
It is. And you know how modest I am that I haven't chosen my birthday as one of the two historical events that we're talking about today.
Are you going to be doing anything exciting for your birthday, Tom?
I don't know, because when are we recording this? It's the...
we're recording it 2 weeks earlier.
the 23rd of December.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what we're going to be doing. Probably staying in under a lockdown or something.
You should have concocted some elaborate story.
Yeah, we're going skiing. I've never skied.
No, I've never been skiing, actually. Never will now, I imagine.
Never, no.
Yeah.
That's a depressing note on which to start, isn't it? Right. Or maybe it isn't. I mean, maybe...
You can't do anything.
Well, I've never had any desire to go skiing, ever.
Yeah.
If
you wanted to have gone skiing...
I know I'd be terrible
at
it. I know. Anyway, so yeah, I'll be celebrating my birthday, but not going skiing and probably staying in and shivering.
Oh.
Because probably by then there'll be power cuts, won't there?
Power cuts? What are you on about?
Well, Russia will have invaded Ukraine. All the gas will be cut off.
Yes, I'm very worried about that, actually.
So who knows what will have happened?
Okay, well, let's cheer everybody up by talking about
But you know what, Dominic?
Yeah.
If that hasn't happened, maybe by the 5th of January, the day today, the Omicron wave will have peaked and passed. There won't have been any power cuts. There won't have been a war. Everything will be great.
And people listeing to this will have a real spring in their step. Because they'll see the path that
they'll be
history
thinking how
could have
bad
taken.
things might have been.
Yeah.
But imagine if it's even worse.
I know. People listen to this in the bombed out ruins of London.
Yeah, terrible.
I feel this terrible, ironic podcast,
Yes,
people laughing
as the Omega variant sweeps the world.
Oh my word.
Anyway.
Tom, don't do this. Don't do it. Let's talk about something else. Let's go back 1,000 years and talk about something from the 11th century.
Yes, and cheer ourselves up with the thought that actually things could be a lot worse, because my date is 5th January 1066. And that is the day on which Edward the Confessor dies. And of course, the death of Edward the Confessor, the starting gun on the most tumultuous year, perhaps, in British history.
Yeah.
The year that sees the Battle of Hastings, the Norman Conquest, and on Christmas Day, 1066, William the Conqueror crowned in the great abbey at Westminster that Edward the Confessor had been building throughout his life. And which had been dedicated on the 28th of January, 1065. So a week or so before Edward's death. And that's really the last kind of great event of his reign. And from that point on, he basically takes to bed. He slips in and out of consciousness. He kind of mutters gibberish occasionally. And the question that hangs over his sickbed, Westminster, England, Northern Europe, is who is going to succeed him as king, because he is childless.
He has totally failed to provide an heir.
No
hasn't he?
heir. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has also, basically, he's been playing off a pair of candidates.
Yeah.
Harold Godwinson, who is the greatest earl in the realm, and William the Duke of Normandy, and both of them feel that they have a claim on the throne. There is, of course, it's actually not up to Edward. It's up to the Witan.
Because it's kind of an elective monarchy, isn't it?
It's kind of an elective monarchy. But over the previous century or so, the principle has basically been established that it should be a kind of hereditary monarchy. So the hereditary principle should kick in. But what has complicated that is the fact that, as Edward well knows, because his father, Ethelred the Unready, had been kicked out and replaced by the Danish kings, so Svein Forkbeard, Canute, Harthcanute, Harold Harefoot. So there is this kind of idea that, the hereditary principle is kind of moderated by violence, rapacity, and opportunism. And that is basically where Harold comes in, because there is an atheling, someone who is, the word for someone who is qualified to be a king, in the form of Edgar.
Yeah.
Who is so there's a kind of a branch of Ethelred's family that have fled to Edmund Ironside's family, who had fought Canute to a score draw decades earlier, and Edmund Ironside then dies, and Canute takes over the whole of England, and his family line have been in Hungary, and Edgar has come back. He doesn't really, not a native English speaker. Doesn't have the kind of the network of connections that a king properly needs, and he's 13 years old.
So that's no good. Yeah.
So it isn't really any good.
So Edward the Confessor, Tom, he's the seventh son of Ethelred the Unready. We didn't feature him in the World Cup of English Kings. He wasn't a contender. Is that so? First of all, he spent lots of his life. He's half Norman, isn't he? His mother is Emma of Normandy. Yeah,
and so when Ethelred goes to flees to Normandy, Edward had gone with him, and so had spent a lot of time in the Norman court.
So is he kind of more? Would you say more Norman than English? Do you think?
Yes, he's very conscious of the fact that he is he's of the line of the Cerdic-Ingas, so the line of Cerdic going back through Alfred.
Yeah.
All the way to Cerdic, the legendary founder of the West Saxon dynasty. And that gives, that's a dare I say, a sacral quality to his bloodline.
The listeners would expect nothing less.
But I think culturally he's as much a Norman as he is Anglo-Saxon.
What about the issue with him and the Godwins? So Godwin is the big sort of magnate, isn't he? Is he in thrall to them? That family?
He hates them. He hates them.
Oh, right. Okay.
So the Godwins are the kind of the big cheeses.
Yeah.
Godwin is the Earl of Wessex. Harold Godwin's son succeeds to that.
Yeah.
And the Godwins, have become successful as Canute's men.
Okay. Right.
They're part Danish themselves.
Yeah.
So Godwin has married a Danish wife. And they basically are the kind of the archetype of the overmighty subject.
Yeah.
And Edward, although he has this royal bloodline, he is also, as we've said, a kind of an outsider.
Yeah.
And so there's an incredible tension. Godwin feels that basically he's the big man. He has the patronage networks. He should really be running the kingdom. Edward feels that he should, and there's this, they kind of kick Godwin kind of kicks sand in Edward's face. Edward gets back. Godwin's going to exile. Godwin's come back. They kick sand in Edward's face.
Right.
And basically there's a kind of uneasy truce. And Edward ends up marrying Godwin's daughter Edith, so Harold's sister.
Yeah.
And the question of why they never have any children. I mean, one of the answers may be that Edward refuses to allow the grandson of a Godwin to sit on the English throne. I mean, it may be that, that's one of the theories for it.
Okay.
That he just can't bear to go to bed with her. We don't know. I mean, there's clearly a lot going on there that we have no way of knowing.
So would you give Edward the Confessor low marks for kingship based on the fact of what happens afterwards?
Yes. Yeah. Because the disaster of the conquest is entirely down to Edward.
And it's not just bad luck that happens, and therefore
no, because he plays Harold and William against one another, and so both of them can say, "Well, Edward, So what happens when Edward dies? So with him, and you can see this on the Bear Tapestry, but it's also reported in a life of Edward that is kind of pretty much contemporaneous. That when he dies, he has Edith, so his wife, Harold. Robert, who's the steward of the palace, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, who's a kind of a bit of a rogue called Stigand. And this account kind of blurs the question of who it is that Edward on his deathbed nominates. William will claim that it was William, and that he'd already nominated him. Harold obviously says it was me, but what this account says is that Edward entrusts the kingdom to Harold rather than granting it. So entrusting could imply a kind of regency for Edgar the Atheling. I mean, so it's all up for granted. But what we know is that Harold is crowned the following day, probably in Westminster Abbey, and that's incredibly quick. And what that also implies is that the Witan must have all been suborned by Harold to back him before Edward dies. And the reason they can do that is that all the great earls and lords have gathered in London, in Westminster, for the consecration of the abbey. And the two key figures who gets squared are Edwin, who's the Earl of Mercia, and Morcar, who's the Earl of Northumbria, who are a pair of brothers. And Morcar marries, and again, another Edith. It's all incredibly confusing. But Harold marries the sister of Edwin and Morcar, who is called Edith.
Is that Edith Swanneck?
No, that's a different Edith.
Oh, golly, too many Ediths.
So there are three Ediths. So there's the Edith who is Harold's sister, who's been married to Edward the Confessor. There's Edith Swanneck, who is the Great Beauty, who is Harold's mistress.
Yeah.
And then there's Edith, who is the sister of Edwin and Morcar, who marries Harold, obviously as a kind of pre-packaged deal to get them to back him as king. And so he's crowned on the same day as Edward's funeral. So there's a lot of kind of indecent hurry going on.
Who knew that this podcast would bring so many Ediths?
The name of our cat. Bless her.
Yeah, my paternal grandmother was called Edith.
It's an old-fashioned name, isn't it?
It's a great name. It's a really great name.
Yeah.
It's the kind of name I think that's kind of coming back into vogue.
But it's spelt in a kind of very groovy way.
Is
in
it?
Old English. Yeah, it's kind of EADYG, maybe
That's just a hassle for
EAD.
That's a hassle.
GYTH.
Giving your name to bureaucrats, isn't it? I mean, so much.
Well, it's like kind of Irish people have this hassle, don't they?
Yes, I had lots of discussions about this with my wife. I said, if they can't, if somebody's saying, sorry, how do you spell that? It's no good. That's just going to annoy the child. Anyway, we're getting off piste. The death of Edward the Confessor. So quite a dark day in English history, Tom.
Yes, definitely.
And after the break, I should be doing a very dark day in French history. We promised you more Gallicisms yesterday, and I have them, because we should be talking about the Dreyfus case.
Yeah, okay. That's a very dark day.
Yeah. All right.
But obviously there's a lot to like because it is my birthday. So
yes. So it's light and shade. All right.
And shade.
See you after the break.
This episode is brought to you by Rocket Money.
Tom, we often talk about how to organise our finances. I'm very conscious that I'm paying for a lot of mad subscriptions. And there's one thing that we've talked about often on this show. It's the thing that we probably hate more than any other, and it's a hidden fee. I would love to get my finances under control. There are all these things piling up on our bank statements, and I think I need to fix this problem. I need to sort this out and to stop this.
I mean, my finances are so chaotic that I need this app.
So I'll tell you what it is. It's called Rocket Money. It's a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and it helps to lower your bills so that you can grow your savings.
With Rocket Money, you can track all of your subscriptions and you can easily cancel within the app with just a few taps, saving you time, avoiding charges. And you can also set budgets and goals and get personalized insights and regular reports to track how you're doing. They will even send you real-time alerts for large transactions, upcoming bills, refunds, and even low balances. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/ishistory.
That's rocketmoney.com/ishistory. rocketmoney.com/ishistory.
Hello, welcome back to this this wonderful day. It's my birthday, 5th of January, the penultimate of the 12, 13 days of Christmas, however you like to calculate them. And in the first half, we did the death of Edward the Confessor in 1066. And Dominic, your choice now.
Well, just before it
has a Dreyfusard flavour.
Yeah, it's a Dreyfusard themed day. But before we come to that, since it is your birthday, Tom, it occurs to me that if the listeners wish to buy you a present,
the very idea.
They should go to restishistorypod.com and treat themselves to Restis History Club membership.
Yes.
That's what you'd want, isn't it, Tom?
That is what I'd want.
Of course
Yes.
it is.
What a wonderful, yes.
And if you really love Tom Holland, you could get an Athelstan membership, because I know, Tom, nothing would mean more to you than that, would it?
Oh, Dominic, I don't want to say that.
Well, that's because you want presents on top of it.
No, I just to be the podcast host of people's hearts. That's all I want. Nothing more.
So, the 5th of January, 1895, we are in the Morland Court of the military school in Paris. So, cadets and so on are assembling. There are 5,000 men in the sort of courtyard of the École Militaire. The drums are rolling. They're all lined up in their finery, in their uniforms, and out of the building come 4 artillery officers and a 5th man. That 5th man is Captain Alfred Dreyfus, who is an artillery officer born in Alsace.
And Jewish, right?
And Jewish.
And that's the key.
And he has been accused, charged, and convicted of treason, of espionage, of passing secrets to the Germans of all people, the very people who'd humiliated France in the Franco-Prussian War. And Dreyfus stands there in front of all these thousands of men. Another officer reads out the judgment, and then an adjutant steps up to Dreyfus, and he tears off from Dreyfus's uniform the badges, the stripes. He tears off his cuffs, his buttons, the sleeves of his jacket, and Dreyfus is standing there, sort of
Rigid.
Rigid, utterly rigid. You know, like sort of Inspector Clouseau being decorated at the end of one of the Pink Panther films by the French president, for those of you who are Clouseau aficionados. He's standing there, he has a tremendous sense of dignity, Dreyfus, while all this is happening to him. Dreyfus, the traitor, or so it seems. And the crowning moment of this is that this officer takes Dreyfus's sword and he snaps the sword in two over his knee. And at that point, that's the point to which Dreyfus physically staggers. He sort of recoils and stumbles and then steadies himself and raises his arms and he shouts, "Innocent, innocent, vive la France, vive l'armée. You have degraded an innocent man, but I swear that I am innocent." And, you know, the watching men, no one moves, no one says anything. And then the men turn and they march off with Dreyfus among them. Dreyfus is taken off to prison. Initially, he's taken to a prison on the Ile de Ré, sort of.
Yeah, wonderful place.
Yeah, now the sort of French
camping.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. Well, Brittany, we said in the previous podcast, was the French Cornwall, but this is the sort of the holiday destination of choice for the sort of French liberal middle classes.
Yeah.
Yes, and he's held in the Ile de Ré for a month. So then he's put on a ship, and for 15 days they sail west, and they arrive at the Salvation Islands of French Guiana, in South America. And there on an island called Devil's Island.
Which isn't, if you're going on holiday...
No,
and
you wouldn't go to
a place
Devil's
called
Island.
Devil's Island. You wouldn't want to
It
go
is
there,
the most notorious, probably the most notorious penal colony
in the
on
world.
the planet. Yeah, in the world. The most horrendous sort of conditions. It is the place from Papillon.
Yeah. So you go there to catch fever and die.
Yeah, you absolutely do. And there he is, apart from his guards, Dreyfus is the only inhabitant of the island. And he is put in a stone hut that is about 13 feet by 13 feet in size. And there he must stay, talking to no one.
Rot.
Trapped to rot. And you know what? Well, of course you know what. He was innocent. He was right. So the backstory to this, the Dreyfus affair is the most extraordinary political scandal in French history.
Because it makes Brexit look like a storm in a key cup.
It does. It had huge crowds. It
But
had
that
rioting.
is, in modern terms, that is the closest analogy, isn't it? I think that's what people have said, that the sense of an absolute division in the country.
Yeah, I suppose so, because it
refusing
becomes
to speak to each other.
It absolutely becomes what people would call a culture war. So it becomes ideas about patriotism, identity, what is France, all this stuff. All of these things are kind of heaped up onto this one. Basically, it's a piece of paper in a waste paper basket. Is what it's all about.
Yes, so sorry, I interrupted. So the backstory to this.
So the backstory is fascinating. So France has lost in the Franco-Prussian War of 1870-71, and Germany has been created off the back of that. And the French feel terribly humiliated because they've also lost Alsace-Lorraine to the Germans. And a lot of people from Alsace play a part in the Dreyfus case story. There's lots of people in the army from Alsace. And there's this burning sense of kind of mutilation and humiliation that they want these territories back. But Germany is the powerhouse of Europe. So the chances of them getting them back are slim. And the French, there's a sort of sense in France in the 1890s and so on that there's a kind of a toxicity to politics. The political life is poisoned really by the humiliations of the century. And the French are very anxious that the Germans have overtaken them technologically and that they're spying on them and stealing all their secrets. And French military intelligence basically starts spying on the German embassy in Paris. And they have a housekeeper called Madame Bastion, who is she's working for the French Secret Service. And she's basically spying on the Germans. And she finds a torn up note in a waste paper basket, which becomes known as the bordereau, which means, I don't know what that means. Let's say a torn up note. Anyway, she finds this bordereau and they stitch it back together and they find that it's basically the details of a gun, of a new sort of hydraulic powered gun that the French have developed. And somebody has given this to the German military attaché, who's a man called Max von Schwarzkoppen. Basically, the sort of casting agency has supplied a German officer's name. And they look around to find out who it is. It must be somebody in artillery, blah, blah, blah. And basically suspicion falls on Dreyfus for two reasons. Three reasons, actually. Reason number one is that he's from Alsace. So there's this sort of, Alsace has this strange place in the French psyche at this point, because obviously it's the territory they want to recapture, but also people from Alsace, some of them do feel German rather than French. So there is this sort of dubiousness about Dreyfus. Next, Dreyfus is a very chilly character. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have lots of friends. He's not a man to go to the pub with. He's
like the stereotype of a British officer, kind of
a little bit, yeah.
Chilly, stiff upper lip.
Is he sort of Douglas Jardine?
Back. He's Douglas Jardine. Yes, he's Douglas Jardine. Yes,
yeah.
And so that thing you were describing about his refusal to show any emotion when his unspeakable humiliation. Public humiliation is being visited.
A public humiliation, which is literally called a degradation.
A degradation.
I mean, that's its official title.
And he draws on the inner ice.
He does. And Robert Harris has an absolutely wonderful novel about the Dreyfus affair. Great. What's it called? An Officer and a Spy? Is it? I think something. And like that.
It's amazing because you know exactly what's going to happen, and you keep turning the pages to find out what's going to happen.
Yeah, agreed. I think for me, it's actually his best novel. And in that, one of the really interesting things in that is it would be a much more Hollywood story if Dreyfus was kind of terribly sentimental.
Tom Hanks.
Yeah, if he was Tom Hanks. But he's absolutely not. He's played by a sort of, he'd be played by some sort of, British character actor who might otherwise be playing Neville Chamberlain or something, isn't he?
Jeremy Irons.
Yeah. And because he's so unlovable, that kind of gives an extra layer of irony, I suppose, to the story. But of course, the big thing about Dreyfus is that he is Jewish. And anti-Semitism is really, really rampant in France in the 1890s and 1900s. It's a sort of, I don't know, it's a reaction against modernity. It's a search for scapegoats after defeat in war. And there's this kind of Catholic conservative politics kind of bubbling away. And Dreyfus makes the perfect person. And once the military have seized on Dreyfus and they've said it's him, they refuse to accept, a lot of the officers refuse to accept any questioning or to entertain any doubts at all.
Well,
even
also,
as the doubts
isn't it
start
worse than that? I mean, they
start
him.
forging. Yeah, they start forging evidence. That's exactly right.
And that's what makes it so toxic, is that actually it kind of ends up where people have to decide either Dreyfus is guilty or the army.
Yeah, or the army have been lying to you. Because once the army start forging evidence, and I think they do it at first, the honour of the army is at stake, Dreyfus must be proved to be guilty. And once they've started doing that, because quite quickly, within a few years, suspicion falls on another man called Esterhazy, who is in fact the guilty party.
Yeah.
And then it starts to get taken up by kind of liberal or left-wing writers.
Émile Zola.
Most famously, Émile Zola, who writes the front-page story J'accuse, in which he basically says the entire French
which he
establishment...
writes when he's in exile, doesn't he?
Yes, he has to go into exile because you see the Dreyfus case becomes so incendiary that to take a side on it means it's far greater than far more incendiary than Brexit. It means you absolutely identify yourself politically in the eyes of your contemporaries, and it means that half the country will hate you because either you are on the side of Dreyfus and of sort of justice, or you're on the side of the army and the honour of France and the nation and all this sort of stuff.
It's very good in Proust.
I've never read Proust.
Oh, it's so good. It's really brilliant.
It looks terribly long.
It is very long. It's indisputably very long, but it's as a portrait of French society in this period. It's kind of incomparable.
Right. And a Proust obviously would be a Dreyfus partisan, wouldn't he?
Well, because he's Jewish, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But people's attitudes to Dreyfus is kind of very useful
short
signifier as to where they stand on a whole host of other issues.
So to cut a long story short, I think we should definitely do a whole podcast on the Dreyfus case because it's such a fascinating story. But those of you who don't know how it ends probably do want to know how it ends. So Dreyfus is eventually pardoned. He's not exonerated at first. He's basically found guilty again, completely unfairly. But the French president gives him a pardon, which Dreyfus accepts very reluctantly because, of course, accepting a pardon carries the imputation of guilt, he knows he wasn't guilty. But he accepts it. He's persuaded to accept it. He's not exonerated until 1906. And then he actually serves in the French army in World War One. And even then, nobody really likes him. That's the thing. Even the people who've supported him say, God, he's such a chilly, kind of unlovable character. But to who has become this great martyr. But the interesting thing now is that the French kind of ultra right-wing polemicist, demagogue, and kind of presidential candidate, Eric Zemmour, who is himself Jewish, has brought the Dreyfus case back up again and says he thinks Dreyfus was possibly guilty.
I think that's exactly what France needs at the moment, is
to reopen
the Dreyfus case.
Well, it would make Britain's arguments about Brexit look, restrained and dignified by comparison, wouldn't it?
Yes, Eric Zemmour. I mean, he has. So he also thinks that Marshal Pétain was unfairly treated. And he thinks that Dreyfus was guilty.
Shocking.
I mean, these seem unnecessary plasters to be ripping off at the moment. This is not where, if you're just a controversialist, this is just where you end up being led. You just end up. We must not do that, Tom. No, we must.
We must stay on the straight and narrow and avoid taking ludicrous positions,
unnecessary polemical.
Yeah, we would never do that, would we?
We'd never ever do that.
Absolutely not. Anyway, Dreyfus was clearly he was clearly innocent, so we're not going to do it on the Dreyfus case. So that's the Dreyfus affair. That is a sad story, I think. Poor Dreyfus.
It's an incredibly sad story. I mean, well, it's a kind of a slight echo of 12 Years a Slave, of kind of dynamics of race leading to, someone being uprooted from the society in which they belong and sent away to suffer appallingly away from their family and everybody.
It's a cosmic injustice.
Yeah, cosmic injustice. Which I guess is why it still has the kind of resonance that it does today.
Yeah. God, this series is getting very depressing. I think we've got one more day, haven't we?
We've got a great one tomorrow, a really cheering one.
We've got one, and we've got the appearance of Samuel Pepys at last. I don't think we've had enough Pepys in these 12 days. So
no, we've
Samuel
got a very,
Pepys
very, very cheery one tomorrow, which is one of the great days in history.
Well, today is one of the great days in history, Tom, because happy birthday.
Yeah,
and on that note,
thank you.
We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to The Rest is History. For bonus episodes, early access, ad-free listening, and access to our chat community, please sign up at restishistorypod.com. That's restishistorypod.com.